everybody, welcome to Sweetcast. We'll see how long this video is going to be, but I have been thinking a lot about what is next. I think everybody should be thinking about what is next. What's the next step for the comic book industry? If you're the type of person that wants to see the comic book industry die, I don't know how to build a bridge there. I don't want the comic book industry to die. I would not be making all these videos talking about comics constantly and doing my own comics if I wanted the industry to die. I want major changes to happen to the industry, and those changes are likely to happen because the free market is going to make it so, and that's great. I'm fine with that. But yeah, I'm looking on Twitter here for video content, and I see a whole bunch of Antifa protesters going around, footage of them screaming in people's faces while they've got their own faces covered, of course, spraying pepper spray, all the same kind of stuff that you see all too frequently. And then it occurred to me, I know why Antifa do that. I know why they try to make themselves look scary, and that's because they want to enforce their opinions. Because you don't have to be right if you're scary. And why is it also that the comic book industry works the same way, or it has worked the same way? There's this intimidation factor to try and control people. No surprise that in Portland, the mayor is doing nothing. The governor, as far as I know, is doing nothing. And Antifa can do whatever they want. They own the place. Doesn't mean that they're right. It means that they're scary. Before I get ahead of myself, let me remind you that Downcast Rise and Fall is on Indiegogo right now. We passed $25,000 this weekend, which is amazing. And the other great thing is that really the last campaign that I did for Downcast 1, at the end of the regular campaign period, we were like 26,000, something like that. So we still have 12 days left. And chances are we're going to pass what we did on the first campaign and still have days left to go. So this will be really great. And then I'm interested to see where the whole campaign lands after the in-demand phase, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you haven't backed it, check it out. It's in the link in the description below. Let's see if we can pass 26K quickly. All right, so I'm organizing my thoughts here as we go. I made the video about the Expendables, and a lot of people are really interested to know what's going on with your boy Zach and with Chuck Dixon, Sylvester Stallone, and where is everything headed? And I'm curious too, because I feel like it's not just a next step. This is a wrecking ball. It opens up a whole new wing of growth and development for indie comics creators. And it makes, not only that, this is the big thing. It makes the industry take notice through the means of free market capitalism. It's not a bunch of scary guys in masks trying to intimidate the comic book industry into changing. That's silly and stupid. And there's enough of those people in the comic book industry. It's Zach coming in with an idea, making those business connections and partnerships and backers rallying behind him in order to send a message and make a really significant dent in what people thought crowdfunding campaigns could do, and into what people thought your boy Zach could do. I see a lot of terrible advice about crowdfunding all the time. If I check Twitter, I will see like tons of people, no offense if you've heard of this, but tons of people have never ran a crowdfunding campaign, but they have very strong opinions based off of a set of assumptions that they've made that are totally untested and often not founded on any viable example in crowdfunding that you could point to. It's kind of like, this is how focused I've been this whole weekend. I discovered this YouTube channel called Street Beefs, and it's like watching it in a guilty way because it's a whole bunch of amateur fighters, and some of them are extremely amateur fighters, basically fighting in this pen in someone's backyard, essentially. And the funny thing is, I keep hearing people yell from the audience. Now, if the fighters are amateur, the randos watching it are very, very amateur, because you can hear them just yelling out random things from the crowd, like Superman punch him, or like just stuff that they've heard on TV that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I wanted to play this clip for you, but I don't, maybe you don't want to see someone get slugged in the face, but lots of bad decision making here. And I think a lot of it is based off of coaches or bystanders on the outside screaming what ought to be done into the middle of the ring when being in the ring is an entirely different situation. All right, so back to comics. How does this relate to comics? So I tried to scrub this video from, and this is Akari Press, this is Antonio Bryce's YouTube channel, because I'd heard that this was where there was officially an announcement that made this Bleeding Cool article make some sense about Destination Comics. Totally makes sense. I understand the reason. You all in the comment section of my last video let me know why Destination Comics was the name. The problem is I'm still just trying to find a video clip. If you know where it is, let me know. I'm trying to find the video clip of that announcement actually happening so I can report on it. In the meantime, what I did find is that the Expendables license is essentially, it's like free reign. Chuck Dixon, your boy Zach, and whoever else they want to have on the team as creators, they are going to continue making Expendables comics. They're going to keep the franchise alive. That's great. That's like a next step. Now I've got one thing that I've been thinking about quite often, and that is like the next step for me has to involve a larger market or pulling more people into the market. This is where, like, I think making your own IP is great, but I do understand the reasoning for having an existing IP because you're going to possibly pull people in that, you know, they're not reading comics necessarily, but they're really into the Expendables. So they might be interested in hopping into the story and getting into comics that way, strictly because of that IP. That makes a bit of sense to me. Okay, the other thing, and this is the big elephant in the room for me, I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous to even bring this up, but that is the price of crowdfunded books. It's expensive. I understand for making a crowdfunded book that it is expensive. I've done it myself. Doing it for $15 for a book is tough. I mean, it worked for me. It was fine. Like, I got the book made, but it is really difficult, and you're cutting things really close in order to do it for $15 for, you know, a graphic novel, square bound kind of book with nice print quality. When Marvel Comics is selling comics for $5 an issue, you know, around that ballpark, $5 an issue, and that's too much because you want to follow a continuing story. Backing crowdfunding campaigns can also be extremely expensive, and like, I'm glad that they're early adopters. I would definitely consider myself an early adopter. I've backed so many of these crowdfunding campaigns, and I'll tell you, I'm backing the Expendables, and I will probably back most everything that Zach will ever puts out in the future. Not a lot of that has to do with the fact that I believe that he's trying to reach the next level. He's trying to build and affect the industry in a positive way. Having said that, I still want the market to open up enough. I want the Expendables books or any other kind of books to get to enough people, like more casual readers, that could get in there and buy it for a competitive price if you're comparing it to any other comics on the shelf. Is that blasphemous? I don't think it should be. I really don't. To me, there's a big difference between crowdfunding comics and buying just like regular issues from an established publishing company through comic book shops. This doesn't really have anything to do with selling it through comic shops. I'm just saying having something priced so that it's competitive against the rest of the industry. That for me is a next step. Now I know enough. I've been in the ring enough, even on an amateur level, to know that doing that is extremely difficult if you don't have enough volume. And volume is going to come two ways. One, it's going to come from the sheer number of people buying a single book. And two, it's going to come from how many books you can put out. So those that, your audience buying any number of comics that you're putting out, that also would create more volume. If you're able to continue a run and, get more people hooked and continuing to buy your books, if you can release them on a more, I want to say more regular, but just a more frequent basis. So how I'm looking at things is that there's probably going to be a route beyond crowdfunding in addition to crowdfunding. However, crowdfunding, from everything I've seen, it's still very foundational for a new kind of industry in comics. The existing industry does not know how to handle it. I was just looking at crowdfunding campaigns earlier today. Professionals that have been in comics for much longer than I have, that have much more name recognition in comics than I do, and I still have more backers on my crowdfunding, both crowdfunding campaigns for that matter. And this campaign's not even over. And so there's a whole lot more to it. That's understanding social media, getting your message out there, getting people excited about your book, all these kinds of things that the current industry is not doing well. Crowdfunding really helps with that. It sort of flips things on its head. But beyond that, how do you get to more people? Like the sheer volumes of readers that you would need in order to bring pricing down, and then in turn that would bring in more readers that would otherwise not be backing books on crowdfunding sites for $25. I'd say $20 to $30 or $35 even for a single book. How do you get there? So if you have comments, let me know. I'd be really interested to see it. If I have been blasphemous, let me know that too. I'm just kind of working these things out myself. And yeah, I'll see you next time.